Today's episode is brought to you by Mazars. SoundCartel. In 35 years of business, there's someone in particular that's experienced failure, highs and lows, and become increasingly valuable to organisations and people. Some of the most important insights he's gathered along the way are to keep evolving, stay relevant, be a good person, and show kindness to everyone. From SoundCartel, I'm Nicole Goodman, and this is Business Essentials Daily. Here at SoundCartel, we seldom express personal views about the people we talk to. After all, it's all about the information, isn't it? But on this occasion, we're going to fess up. When it comes to Andrew Griffiths, we're fans. Sure, he's smart, a great communicator, a prolific author, and now a highly successful coach and international speaker. But it's more than that. To us, Andrew is a striking example of someone who's respectful, generous, and supportive of others. It's a question of personal conduct. We've interviewed Andrew on and off for almost 2 decades of his 35 years in business. His career has taken him from running a scuba diving business in Sydney at the ripe old age of 17 to a marketing agency in Cairns that has grown along with his reputation. Now he's everywhere. We've invited Andrew back to tell us about the lessons he's learnt in his 3.5 decades in business. But Heather Dawson's first question goes to the heart of that personal conduct issue. What would Andrew acknowledge, personally, as important to his success?
If you boil it down to an essence, I think I have enormous respect for other people. And I see a lot of people who don't, particularly in business, particularly as they become a little bit more successful, and that really irritates me. I've always had the philosophy that you treat the receptionist the same as the CEO. You treat everyone you meet equally, and in my life, I've had many, many ups and downs and bits and pieces, and I've always kind of turned around with that and said, what comes back to it, and the most important thing is how you treat people. Treat people with respect and be empathetic and put yourself in the shoes of others. As you know, we've spoken about that stuff on the show in the past, and it's really, really important to me. And as I get older, you know, those kind of qualities, that kindness, gentleness, respect, become overwhelmingly important, far more than material success, financial success, and all the rest of it. But what I actually realise is that they've always been really important to me.
Well, now, Andrew, hard to believe, but you've been contemplating your first 35 years in business and the important lessons that you've learnt along the way. First, you say we have to continually evolve. No rest for the wicked then?
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Well, and I like the fact that you said my first 35 years, you know, because obviously I'm in the planning stages for the next 35 years at this stage of the game.
Yes,
evolution to me is really the key to success in business and in life. There's a great Alvin Toffler quote, the guy that wrote Future Shock, and it said, the illiterate of the 21st century won't be those who can't read or write, but those that can't learn, unlearn and relearn. And that to me is the essence of doing business. Look at how your business here has evolved since I've been doing stuff with you over the last 20 years, Heather. Yeah. I look at my own business and what I'm doing now, how much has it evolved? We were laughing off air a few minutes ago about my friend Lolita drove me over here and her car's got a cassette player in it. And we realised how long it takes to rewind a cassette, and now we know why we don't use them.
Right.
In business, we have to be evolving. That's the key to success, without a doubt.
You also say part and parcel of that is to never stop learning. But is there any particular focus, do you think, that we should be learning?
Well, for me, I try to spend a couple of hours a day learning. And what that learning encompasses is researching. For me, I think this relevance is a key. We have to stay relevant to our audience. So for me, learning is about that. It's about being at the forefront of our industry. It's about what's going on in our industry. So I read a lot of entrepreneurial sites. I read a lot of entrepreneurial books, watch a lot of TED Talks, do all of those kind of things. And that to me is we have to be learning that stuff, but we also need to be learning skills. And these days, technology, is the main one. So, there's so much technology that we have to be adapting for, and that's where the gap is evolving. I see a lot of people in business that are 50 plus, and they've been really successful, but the problem now is that they're struggling to keep up because technology is changing so rapidly they can't. And their businesses are starting to fall behind, or they've got to have a great team behind them who can do the technology side of things. It's extraordinary. But we've got to learn a lot, and we've got to learn every day.
Okay, we need to have a very open mind, you say, Andrew. Does that get harder as we get older?
I think it's funny. When I was 18, I often think about this. I used to think that life was black and white with a tiny bit of grey in the middle. Right, wrong, blah. Now I look at it and go, there's just this big area of grey with a little bit of black and a little bit of white on either end. I find it's easier to become open-minded for me, but it's also so much better to be open-minded. And it comes back to that point about treating every single person with respect, understanding that things are changing, customers are changing, the way we do business is changing, that if we're really rigid in the way we do business, that does not work in the modern environment.
Okay, now, you also say that we need to look outside our industry for the best ideas. So why is that, Andrew? Isn't it better to keep a closer eye on our competitors inside our industries rather than looking outside?
Well, I think we used to do that. When I was in the dive industry, all we ever did was look at other dive shops or other dive schools. That's all we thought of. Nowadays, there's so much stuff happening in other industries. There's so many lessons to be learned. It's like there's an example that there's a toothpaste manufacturing company, big global one. They've partnered with a Formula One racing team. Okay, and the Formula One racing team taught them through their techniques of like changing tyres and things really, really fast, how to speed up a conveyor belt, how to speed up a production line. We get these great ideas from other industries. One really unusual example that I use here is like we talk about technology in businesses and businesses being slow to adapt. In Rome, there's actually an app which is called Priest on a Scooter. So what happens is have you used Uber?
Yes.
Okay, so it's like Uber. You open it up and go, okay, Saturday morning I need a priest for, or maybe I need an exorcism or whatever you need a priest for. You open your app and there's a little icons come up to say how many priests are in your area at the moment. You click the little button and it says a priest, and the map will show you a little priest on a scooter is on the way. The priest comes and does whatever they do for you. Then when they finish, it's all paid, all your credit card details are in there. Then when the priest goes, you've got to rate how many angels' wings you want to give them. And now this is a real app. It's out there. You can check, if you're listening to this, check it out. Priest on a Scooter. But the moral to the story is, if an old organisation like the Roman Catholic Church can adapt to that modern technology, that's the moral to the story. Cross-industry innovation, there is so much cool stuff happening around the world that if we're just looking inwards at our own little industry, we're going to get overtaken. And that's where I spend most of my time, is actually seeing what is happening around the world, and I commentate on that all over the place, because that's where I see incredible innovation and go, right, how can I use that? How could I teach that to others? How can we bring that into our business?
And, Andrew, you say that we need to get better in all aspects of our businesses, but not just the bits that we like. So what do you mean there?
Well, I think over the years, for me as well, you tend to do the stuff that you like. And you put off stuff. So typically in businesses, the area that lets most businesses down is money. Because it's a drag. I hate doing the accounts, hate doing bookkeeping, hate doing this stuff, But you've got to take responsibility for every part of your business. Whether or not you do it on a regular basis is perhaps not so much the point, but you've got to be responsible and you've got to know it. I meet so many business owners that have no idea about the financial state of their business, and their excuse is, I'm just not interested in that kind of stuff. And you go, well, yeah, okay, that's okay, but the ATO is, and at some stage or other, they're going to have a quiet chat to you about that. Or, you've got to know your money. You've got to, you might not like it, but you've got to know it. It's a responsibility part. If your name goes on the bottom of the checks, I know no one writes checks anymore, but if you're responsible, it's your business and you're responsible for every part of it. And I think we're a little bit selective. I only like doing this, or I only like doing that. That's fine, but you still got to know what else is going on in your business. And that's a responsibility thing, and a maturity thing too, to be honest.
Have you made many or any mistakes in business, Andrew, as you look back over your 35 years?
No, I haven't. No mistakes. No,
I don't quite believe
it's been a spotless 35 years. I look, honestly, I used to say with my books that my books are basically books of my mistakes. I've made every mistake. I remember way back in my dive shop days, I got to know my bank manager because every morning he'd come by and give me the checks that I bounced the day before. I had no idea about doing business. And I've made bad partnership mistakes. I've made bad business mistakes in general. I've made every mistake known to mankind. And I've done them 3 or 4 times to make sure I've got them really right. I was very, very professional at how I made mistakes. And I still make mistakes. And I think everyone in business, we all do, right? I mean, I know your question is tongue-in-cheek, but I think that over time you start to get better at how you would hope about avoiding mistakes, but also dealing with mistakes. Again, stepping up, taking responsibility sooner. You listen to your intuition a lot more. I certainly listen to my intuition much, much more now. When I've made big mistakes, I'd known I shouldn't have done that. But I did it anyway because I intellectualised it rather than listen to my gut instinct. And I'm a big, big believer in the power of intuition in business.
Well, now you're on to your next 35 years, Andrew. So what's your next big venture?
Well, I know this is hard to believe, right? I'm doing a lot of stuff. I'm doing a lot of coaching and training people as professional speakers. I do a lot of book coaching as well, so teaching people to write books. And that's really rewarding for me. I think I've learned in the last 4 or 5 years how much I actually do love coaching. And in particular, I like to teach people the speaking and the authoring side of things. And just more so building my communities and developing my teaching and coaching side of things there and hopefully not making too many more business mistakes as the years go by. But a lot of it for me now is also just to enjoy it. I love travelling and I kind of look to do cool things with cool people in cool places. It is a bit of my philosophy to life. So, and it seems to be the way it's shaping up.
That was author and speaker Andrew Griffiths. Business Essentials Daily is a SoundCartel podcast. Executive producer is Heather Dawson. Producers are Nick Schilberger, Chris Ashmore, and myself. Technical production by Pete Letts and Belinda Trimboli. I'm Nicole Goodman. Thanks for listening. We'll bring you more Be Daily next week. SoundCartel. This episode was brought to you by Mazars. To find out more, visit mazars.com.au. That's mazars.com.au.